Hey Amanda and Becca. Y'all get to see me looking especially sexy today because it's a Saturday, and basically, if I had a theme song for the weekend, it would be, it'd have to be titled like "I'm not going anywhere, so I don't give a shit." So I look really good today. But I once again went through like four different ideas of what this video was going to be about this week. But then I returned to work last night and I found out that three of our residents had died in one day, which I've never seen happen before. That's incredible. And this is not going to be a sad video because the last one was depressing enough. But one of those residents who died was Chris, who I told you about, and she's one of the residents I've worked closest with for the last like 3 years, so it was actually very upsetting. But I want to do sort of like a happy video about the home to lift my own spirits even. So what I'm going to talk about is like crazy stories I have from where I work, and I'm only going to tell a few because if I told all of them, this video would last like 3 hours. So first I guess I'd touch on like some of the really crazy stuff that Martha has said, like in the whole time that she's worked there. And I've told you she's the one with really bad Alzheimer's whose life story changes from day to day. And one of the things she always goes on about, well, not always, every once in a while, she will talk about her parents. And I don't mean like stories from the past about her parents, I mean how her parents are apparently still alive. They're not alive, they've been dead a long time. But it was the other day she was talking to a guy named Lenny, and she went up to him and they were having a very rambling conversation because they both have very poor memory problems. But at one point she said something about, oh, I need to call my parents, but I'm not sure where they are. And he goes, wow, your parents are still alive? And she goes, yeah, I can't remember exactly what their age is, but I think they're the 95, 96. Well, that's her age, so obviously not. And Lenny looks at her totally, totally seriously. He goes, wow, they're your age. And she's had several moments like that with, I swear she zeroes in on the most like cognitively confused people. Because I've got another story where she used to live with or not live, she sat at the same table with a lady named Bonnie, and this is probably the favorite thing I've ever heard Martha say, is they're talking, and all of a sudden I see Martha do this, talking to Bonnie, and she goes, do you know they shot me 20 times in the head yesterday? And already I'm going, oh my god. And Bonnie turns to her, totally straight-faced, and goes, and you're still alive? And it's just like, and everyone around them is absolutely cracking up because this is the stuff she says all the time. And another time, she used to sit at this table with a guy named Bill. And at first, she was kind of standoffish to him. I guess she didn't like him much. And then she warmed up to him, and all of a sudden, one day, she turns to him and goes, and they've never known each other in the past at all. She goes, do you remember when we used to sleep together? He goes, when? And it was so weird because at first, she was like assuming that he wanted an affair with her and she wasn't gonna have an affair. And then it came to that. It was like, wow, Martha, that was a little bit of a 360. And another Carolyn, bleh, another resident we had that was pretty weird was this lady named Carolyn, and she also had really bad Alzheimer's, and she's passed away now. I haven't worked with her for about a year now, I think was when she went. But she would eat literally anything. Like, I'm not kidding you. We once went into her room to clean out glasses, and we had been missing all of our ketchup bottles, and we had no idea what had happened to them. Well, it turned out she had drank all of our ketchup, like 9 bottles. She drank the ketchup. And another time we caught her, like, eating our parsley flakes in this big thing we have. So I'm not kidding when I say literally anything. And the funniest thing I think I have ever seen her eat is I was, Christmas, we go all out, we do this, big decoration thing. The home looks crazy, actually. And one thing we always have is this big gingerbread house. And this is not a gingerbread house that's meant to be eaten. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't even taste good, it would be awful. But I walk down the hall one day, go into the kitchen, and I see the table where the gingerbread house should be, and there's no gingerbread house. So I looked at it and I went, that's curious. Where did our gingerbread house go? So I went to find one of my other coworkers and went, did they throw it out or something? She's like, no, it should be there. So we were, kind of circling around trying to figure out what happened. Well, we find Carolyn and this other resident named Elizabeth, who already also had very bad memory problems, and they have eaten our entire gingerbread house. And this is not a small gingerbread house. It was like a gingerbread complex, basically, that they have eaten the whole thing. So that was probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen her eat, ever seen anyone eat. And another crazy thing that happens there that people won't even believe me when I tell them this is we had an extramarital affair in the home at one point. One of the residents is still there. His name's Art. He's totally like a ladies' man total player, which is hilarious because he's like 85 and he can barely speak. But this affair was with a woman named Jerry. I don't know what her real name was. I think it was like Genevieve or something, and her husband Perry, which is really weird. I swear to God, we have rhyming names of residents that are married all the time. But anyway, this girl Jerry, Art always had like a fixation on her, I guess. And it started out real innocent, like he would walk up and try to like hold her hand and she would like shake him off because she was there with her husband. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but yeah, they end up having this like dramatic affair that the whole complex knows about. They're like going behind her husband's back. But at some point it became really obvious, and like girls were walking in on them doing stuff that you don't want to walk in on, 80 and 90-year-old people doing. And eventually her family had to move her out of the home because it became so dramatic and everyone was finding out. And, it was just, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen happen at the home. We had an extramarital affair. I couldn't believe it. And I assume that has to mean she had stepped out on him, previously in her life, because I don't think that's something you do for the first time at like 85, 90. And I have, like a million other stories I could tell, but I just hit 7 minutes, so I think I will probably cut myself off here. But that's kind of like a less depressing look at where I work.